Hey, hope you're doing well. Today I want to have a little discussion about working from home versus working in the office. Just an informal kind of conversation, if you will. Now, it's hard to have a conversation when it's just one way. But I want to talk a little bit about this. I've been mulling it over for the last couple of years. I've been observing, as I'm sure you have been too, how the society's been changing and how work has been changing and behaviors have been changing since the pandemic. Now, we were told at the beginning of this thing by pundits and news people and media, they were kind of, oh, this is the new normal. You're not going to interact with people. You're going to wear face masks all the time. You're going to stay home. You're going to work from home. You're not going to get out very much and do stuff. Everything's going to be virtual. You're going to have, your food and everything delivered to you. You're not going to go out to supermarkets and shopping centers. Amazon's going to become all in all. And this is the new normal. This is not temporary because of the pandemic. This is the new normal. This is where the world is going. And I bristled at that. I resented those sentiments. And part of the reason for that is I couldn't help but feel like there's a segment of our society that just doesn't want to interact with other human beings. They don't feel integrated societally. They don't like talking to people. They don't like interactions with strangers. They don't want to have to smile and be polite. They don't want to have to navigate a parking lot or walk a supermarket. There are people that just don't like dealing with other people. And I felt like this is kind of jumping the gun, like now's our chance. We can finally have the society we've always wanted, the one where we don't have to interact with others. Now, I'm not blaming that segment of society. I'm not blaming the people that just want to stay home, work from home, watch Netflix, get Postmates, and just never have to leave the comfort of their home. I'm not blaming those people, but I'm just saying I felt like that was a bit of a jump. Now, I think you could say there are more sinister reasons. There's a restructuring of society by the elites and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that so much. That's all very interesting to me. But today I just want to talk about the difference of working from home and working at the office, and just some informal thoughts. I've got a handful of thoughts I've been knocking around in my head. As a consultant, I'm working with clients all the time. I'm traveling, I'm going on site, I'm doing remote work, I'm doing it all. And I've been just kind of watching what's going on with my clients, what's going on with other businesses that I'm connected to. How is this impacting the world around me? And even more interestingly, what are some of the ideas that are behind this? So just a couple, I think 3-4 things I want to touch on. I've talked before in previous videos, quite a while ago, if you go back in my backlog, my older catalog of videos, and I'm not encouraging you to do that because I'm not necessarily proud of all those videos. I just have this kind of deer in the headlights and very stiff delivery. It's quite comical. But I've talked before about the difference between transactional work versus transformational work. And I want to follow up on that idea a little bit as it relates to this idea of working from home and working working at the office. Now, before the pandemic, I'm a Gen Xer. You got the boomers older than me, and behind my generation comes the millennials. And then you've got the Zoomers, the Generation Z. And my generation has just been normalized to working at the office, as have the boomers. But the millennials, I think from day one, have been kind of pushing. I say day one, but as they've entered the workforce, they've been asking this kind of question together. Why am I at this office? Why do I need to be here? Why? I could do this from home. And so I've observed firsthand, both as an employer, both just as a relative to some of these people, related to them, friends, so on, just observing. And I've been observing my clients as employers, where the millennial generation and younger, but the millennials have been pushing, even before the pandemic, for the opportunity, the benefit to work from home. And their argument has been I don't need to be here. This is a waste of my time. Now, everybody knows, hey, working from home is great in many ways. There's some downsides. I'm not going to get into all the pros and cons in this video, but it's really great. You don't have a boss over your shoulder. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to put up with the BS. You don't have to, watch the clock. You can kind of do what you want to do. Let's face it, people working from home are not working a full 8 hours. And the reason I say that, before you get all offended, just hear me out. The reason I say that is that people going to the office aren't working a full 8 hours either. we get mentally fatigued, we get exhausted, we get bored. We have to have a change. You do some work at your computer, you stand up, you walk around, you get a drink. Some people go out and have a cigarette. You chit-chat a little bit. You kind of need to break up the day. Nobody can sit staring at a screen 8 hours straight like a machine. You and I are not machines. And so it stands to reason that if people are not putting in a good, hard 8 hours at the office, well, they're probably not putting in a good, hard 8 hours at home. And I think the argument from these people have been, look, I can be more productive. I don't have to put up with all the BS. I don't have to commute. I don't have to do all this stuff. I can just get work done. And I would argue that there's a lot of truth to that. I've been working from home for many years now. So this is not new to me. As an independent consultant, I have a home office. That's where I'm shooting this, my home office. I travel a lot, so I'm on site for clients. I have meetings face-to-face. But I'm working from home, and I can get a lot done. If I focus and power through, I can get a lot done. So I think that part of the argument's a good argument, but you kind of get into this mode of, I'm working from home. I don't need to be at the office. This is BS. It's a waste of my time. And for me, the question comes up, is your work transformational or is it transactional? What I mean by that is, does your work create wealth? Does it transform something? Does it help the company create wealth and value? Because if your work is transformational, it would also stand to reason that you need to be interacting with other people, that you are an important component, that you need to be there. If you're creating wealth for the business, you by yourself can't just do that. You just can't sit home and have the money flow into your company. If that were the case, you could just have your own business and sit at home and make a ton of cash. And we get this other kind of work called transactional. Think of filing. You get a stack of papers and you file. It's work that has to be done. It's important work. If the filing doesn't happen, it's hard to find information and stuff builds up in the office and things are a mess. It's hard to work. But at the end of the day, anybody can do that work. And it doesn't change the business. It doesn't transform anything. It's not how the business creates wealth. It doesn't solve problems that customers are willing to pay for. So in any business, you have transactional and you have transformational work. And my concern for people that are pushing so hard to be 100% remote is you're kind of signaling that my work is mainly transactional work. My work is replaceable. I'm a cog in a machine, and that cog has no personality. It has no presence. It has no bearing. If that cog isn't working, well, we can get a different cog. Now, I'm painting with a broad stroke here, a broad brush, and I understand that. So please, don't interpret this as me saying if you work from home, you're automatically transactional. I'm just saying that the more you can be removed typically from your business, the more you don't need to be there, the more they don't need to interact with you, the more that you can just be left to yourself to do your job. In most instances, the least amount of importance you have to the business, the more you're not that important. I don't know how to say that in a way that's clear. I think the second thing to keep in mind is there is something that happens when people come together and work together, and this is the power of collaboration. Now, I understand you can have Zoom meetings, you can have virtual meetings, we're all on video, we're all doing these things. They're fine. But there is something about having people physically present. There's something about being together that is better than being remote. People have better outcomes when they're in a room together. Now, not every in-person meeting is productive. Not every in-person meeting is even necessary, let's face it. And that's one of the great things about working from home is you can avoid some of these unnecessary BS meetings. But there is something about collaboration. Could you imagine Steve Jobs running Apple remotely? Could you imagine Johnny Ives and all these people kind of being remote and saying, oh yeah, I don't need to be in the office. This is BS. I don't need to be there. My team doesn't need to be there. We do everything remote. Everything's online. Everything's digital. I'm sorry. I just don't think that they would have gotten the results, that they would have solved the problems that they did in the ways that they did and transformed their industry. Now, I'm not an Apple fanboy, although I look over my shoulder. I mean, I do have a lot of Apple products. I like Apple. I've been with Apple since the early 80s. And it's an impressive company. But I don't mean to say like, oh, they've changed mankind. If they have, it's not for the better. I mean, everybody's got their nose in a phone, a smartphone, and that's not a good thing necessarily. But my point being, Apple has been a transformational company. I don't think that they could have accomplished those things, everybody working remote. Well, think about yourself. If you're in this position where you're always remote, you're not interacting with other individuals, what kind of collaboration, what kind of problem solving are you going to accomplish? What are you going to bring to the table? What change are you going to affect? Now, you might be saying, hey, I don't really care about that stuff because I'm not interested in that. I just want to get my paycheck and so on. But I would just encourage you, like right now in the market we're in, yeah, the employee kind of has the upper hand. Hard to find good help. There's this kind of changing mentality. Oh, we've got to accommodate. People want to work from home and so on. And I want to be clear, I'm not anti-work from home, but this idea that I'm completely divorcing myself and I'm just going to sit here and pull a check and do my work. I think the more that you rely on that type of dynamic, that type of relationship with your business, the more replaceable you become. And right now, companies don't want to replace you because it's hard to find good people, but that could change. These markets ebb and flow. I remember when I first entered the market, you were lucky to get a job. The odds were against you, and you had to work really hard to get an opportunity. There was no, and there were no tools. I mean, gosh, you had to look in a newspaper and classified ads for the help wanted, send a resume in by mail, make the sign of the cross and hope for the best. I mean, and even then you were competing and they were tough and they were doing you a favor. Now, as an employee, you're doing them a favor. It's like, I want a signing bonus. I'm going to negotiate salary. I'm going to negotiate working from home and all this kind of stuff. I want to work remotely. So I think as the market changes, the more that you are not integrated into your company, the more that you are transactional, the more that you are not collaborating and you are not providing transformational and value to the company, the more that you are not helping solve problems and create wealth for your business, I think the more vulnerable you become. If any of you remember, we've gone through massive layoffs, periods in our economy where we've had massive layoffs. I think of companies like Kodak, just laying off thousands and thousands of people, and they're one of many companies. The more you're integrated into one of these big businesses or small businesses and the economy starts to change and you're not viewed as integral. In fact, they don't even have a relationship with you. I've never met you. I don't know you. I'm not connected to you. Yes, you're an employee. Yes, you're on the team. Yes, you do a certain task or job for us. You fulfill a need. But I'm not sure that we really know you. And I think as that starts to change, you find yourself in a bad position. You find yourself vulnerable, exposed, and often unemployed. And just because things are good for employees right now, just because this is the quote unquote new normal, doesn't mean that can't change, and it can't change overnight. These things happen fast. I think look around at the economy. If I'm you and I've got a remote job, I'm making sure that I'm in on a regular basis. I'm making sure that I'm having FaceTime with people. I mean face-to-face time, not Apple FaceTime. I'm trying to be part of important meetings. I'm trying to contribute in ways and collaborate in ways that create wealth for the company. I'm trying to be a transformational contributor to the business. Now, I think that you can do that as a partially remote employee. I believe that. But this angling for getting the best situation for yourself where you don't have to interact, where you can work completely remote, I think is right. It's good right now. You can kind of get away with it, enjoy it. It's giving people wonderful opportunities. But I don't see this as being a long-term solution unless you're comfortable being, kind of a transactional employee that's vulnerable and exposed to the whims of the business. The more you can integrate yourself in, the more important you can become to the operation, I think, the more secure you're going to be. So those are just some thoughts. I want to share those. I'd love to know what you guys think. By the way, having a conversation, I started a Discord server because I want to give an opportunity for our community to kind of get together I get all kinds of great notes. People get in touch. We used to do the live stream and the live channel. Don't do that so much anymore. But I will be streaming. I will be interacting and doing some things on the Discord. I'll put a link in the description below. That invite will be good for, I don't know, like a week or so. If you happen to watch this video within 7 days of it being published and you want to pop over and join the Discord server, would love to see you there. It's nascent right now. It's small, just getting started. But the more folks that jump in, I think the more value. So come check it out and help me get this thing started. It would be great to have you in the community. Guys, love you all. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.